Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Puppet Time Online. I'm your host, Eric Wright, and Puppet Time Online is your chance to sit down with some of puppetry community's finest and me to hear about what they know about. As usual, I'm here with Katrina, who's running the show. She's going to be watching your questions and comments in the comments section to make sure that if you have anything for me or our guest today, to type it in and we'll try and get to it. So Katie, this is our 30th show.
Can you believe it? I can.
It seems like only a year ago when we started all of this.
47 years ago.
But I also want to thank everyone who's joining us right now at our special time. We moved things around so that we could catch our special guest today, who I'm super excited to talk to. We will, of course, have this up and available on YouTube on Wednesday at 2 when you're used to catching Puppet Time Online. But today, I'm super excited to talk to our guest. I worked with him a couple of years ago on a short film of his that he was making while he was making a much larger film. So it's my pleasure to introduce writer, producer, and director, Todd Strauss-Schulson. Hello, Todd.
Hi, good morning. I'm half asleep still.
You are in LA. You've just flown in from you're traveling all over. Where are you usually based even?
Well, pre-COVID, I'm usually splitting between New York and Los Angeles. But I love New York, and I'm from New York, and I'm a fourth generation New Yorker, and I just want to be in New York all the time. But and then COVID, so I don't go anywhere. I was in LA, but then I got sad and fragile. So I went back to New York and was there for a while. And somehow right at the end of this year, like two sweet jobs kind of popped up. I hadn't worked all year besides making my own stuff.
Yeah,
I was just in New York shooting like a delightful musical commercial with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen for New Year's Eve, right in Times Square, and it was with all these Broadway dancers that had been out of work all year.
That must have been insane.
It was it was truly emotional. This has been a hard year for everyone, all of us, me too, and.
Yeah.
You know, they hadn't been working. And so even me being on set, you sort of see it. You're like, oh, I love doing this. I have forgotten because I thought I'd maybe never do it again.
Yeah.
But these dancers, 14 of them, and the choreographer was their first time back in the city, back on Broadway, using their bodies, being pushed to, seeing each other, old friends. And it was lovely. Yeah. Lovely way to end the year.
That's so cool. I was thinking about that the other day too, because we watched. We've been seeing little bits and pieces here of people coming back to Broadway or doing numbers here and there or things on the street and things like that, and just thinking like man, how do you get back into shape for that, and how do you get prepared for that, and it must be really. I'm sure there's a lot of getting back into your body that you have to do. But that's so cool that you get to do that.
It was the best. It was emotional for all of them, for me too.
Yeah. So now you are, just for our audience, we normally talk to people who are really in the puppetry community here on Puppet Time Online. But what I love to do is to talk to people who are kind of on the outsides of the puppetry community or in positions in the puppetry community you might not expect. And
I'm in the community?
Yeah, you're in the community. So that's the first thing. You're in.
Is this my welcoming party?
I can attest. You're in the community now.
Oh, great. I'm puppet adjacent, but I'm inside the community. This is good.
This is it. News. This officially marks it now that I'm saying it. But so normally we start by asking people about how they got into puppetry. And I guess in this case, I want to know, we worked on this short film that you came up with called Wholesome a couple of years ago. Last year? Was it last year?
It was
47 years ago.
Honestly, time has no meaning.
It was maybe a year and a half. It wasn't a year ago. It was that summer?
It was like while you were in
summers ago? No, that's not right.
Isn't It Romantic, right? You were doing like the last big dance scenes or whatever. So we worked together on a short film that used puppets. And I want to know, like, what brought you to puppetry? Or like, how did you... First of all, is that your first experience with puppetry? And how did you get there? Well,
I've never thought about that question until about 7 minutes ago when you told me you were going to ask it. I don't really know. I always wanted to make movies. That was my central focus and almost obsessive goal.
Yeah.
To be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And that is from when I'm like 2 or 3 years old, like so little. I wonder if puppetry was sort of showed its seeds for you when you were that little, but for me it did. And I grew up in Queens in an apartment, and like on Friday morning, my mom tells this story that now I tell every time someone asks me, but like I would cry and have a hysterical fit on Fridays until she'd put me in the stroller and stroll me down Queens Boulevard to the movie theater so I could see all the new posters and the marquee with new words, like new pictures, new words.
Yeah.
On Friday, I was so little. And so it was always somewhat in me. And as a kid, I gravitated to certain things naturally. I loved, obviously, the Muppets, so much. And I wanted to be a Muppet for... Halloween every year, but I was particularly obsessed with but the skin, it's like different than what you're dressing me as. Like the skin is foamy and soft and the hair is textured and the way that it's rubbery and it stretches. I wanted that. Like I knew that. Mm-hmm. And then also like my dad, particularly, who passed away right before I made my first movie, but he was real Manhattanite and real artsy sort of weirdo guy, and he would take me all the time to see strange way off Broadway shows. The more bizarre, the better. And so I was really exposed to that stuff young. Mummenschanz was hugely. Maybe I didn't even know it was impactful until I met you and all this, and but. That was hugely. I had never seen anything quite beautiful, funny, and weird, with subverbal,
Yeah.
And
clever. I love Mummenschanz. I mean, they had a huge impact on me.
I would go every time they'd be in town. We had seen Mummenschanz, and I just saw Mummenschanz like a year and a half ago. I was like, I got to see what's going on with these guys. Yeah. And the Flying Karamazov brothers were things that I loved, which was this sort of existential avant-garde juggling troupe that was both silly but smart and intellectual but stupid. I love that. And I remember seeing something called Invisible Circus, which was Geraldine Chaplin and her son, the Chaplins, basically, the remaining Chaplins, doing a kind of art circus. And it fully had tricks, like it had like high wire stuff, but it was beautiful. It wasn't like going to see Ringling Brothers. And so there were things like that were kind of flooding me when I was, not 7 to 15 or something. Mm-hmm. And then in high school, I also got really into like makeup effects, like horror movies. Mm-hmm. But again, I was terrified of horror movies. I couldn't watch them. I'd have nightmares. And then I realized it was all makeup and procedure and built latex. And it was ingenuity. It was industrious. It was built. And then I started to love these movies because the kills and the blood and the tubes and Tom Savini and Rick Baker. And who are these sickos that are doing this? And so I started doing that. For Hanukkah, every night I'd get a different fake nose. Like that's what I was like. And I would shoot movies and the content of the movie would be slitting my throat and blood would come out in the shower, you know? And that's what I would do after school. I wouldn't do work. I would do that stuff. So maybe all those things somehow threaded together. And then, yeah. And also my mother, not to give her no credit, you know, my dad was artsy funny. She was a little more serious, sophisticated. But she would take me to operas. That would be her way to spend, you know, time with her son.
Yeah.
We'd go to the Met, we'd go see operas. And, you know, those like modern operas where it's like a black stage and like one prop and it's 7 hours long. And then telling you like, who wants this? I hate this. But when there'd be something with like crazy sets and fake skies and scrims and animals and puppets and the way the sets are transitioning, I'd be like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So those things were great. And I always try to put those like theatrical things in movies.
Yeah.
And that's probably where my love of that particular craft and maybe came from. And it's it's playful, but it's also so evocative in some strange way. So I love it.
That's really cool. We talked to Jonathan Lyons last week, who you directed in Rat. The short
I know him.
With his little.
Yeah, I know him.
And he meant so I know you through him. He introduced me to you when you were making making the short film, looking for puppeteers and stuff.
So this is how it reemerged, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
I guess it was always there, although my first bunch of movies didn't really have it, but they kind of did. Like, I was 29. I was 29. I just lost my dad. I got a movie. It was psychotic.
Yeah.
And it was Harold and Kumar Christmas.
Yeah.
But in that movie was this waffle bot character that was a fully puppeted character. Yeah. That, by the way, Greg Nicotero, who was one of these horror makeup effects gurus, designed. I got to meet that guy, and we got to build this silly character. So that was puppeted, and the guys on set were like had done the Raptors in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And this was a silly little stupid thing, but I remember even in that my first bigger thing, like, whoa, I'm around magicians. That's how I felt. With these guys who did the raptor face. I was like, did you do the thing where the breath comes out of the knots? And you're like, yeah. I was like, oh, you guys.
What a dream.
I don't care. There's 100 other people on set, but you're the only important one to me. That's how I felt. My second movie had horror makeup stuff in it. And my third movie was Isn't It Romantic? And that didn't have very much of those things. But I was in New York, and it was a particularly challenging editorial situation. It kind of went on forever and was just challenging to navigate. And I was feeling pretty beaten up and not very creative. And it just kept on fucking going on. I was like, how many times do I have to have this argument and lose it until I can have it again and try to win it? And in this time, a friend of mine was in New York visiting, and we'd always go see strange shows. And she took me to go see Symphonie Fantastique, which is Basil Twist's show. And I didn't know who Basil was, and I didn't know what that show was, but I was in a particular I was in a consciousness where I was desperate for anything inspiring and different than what I was working on.
Yeah. And
I saw that show, and it blew my fucking mind. And it probably reverbed back to all that shit from being little. Like, it felt like Invisible Circus, or it felt like all that stuff.
Yes.
Something completely new and different. And I loved particularly about that show. I assume a lot of people that are watching this know that show, but like, the best part about that show is that at the end of it, when you leave the theater, they make you walk through the backstage. Like, they know that they just blew your mind.
Yeah.
And that you have no idea how they did it. So they want to show you that really they were just in wetsuits, out of breath, doing it.
Right. Just plunging stuff into a big tank of water.
Yeah, the demystification, I thought, was such a gift. You don't have to do that for the audience.
Yeah.
And I went home, and I was just, it dazzled me. And I just like went in that playbill, and I just tried to contact all the names of all the people, lighting and the piano guy and the puppeteers and Basil himself.
Yeah. And
Jono, who you know his personality, he's eager and open, and he responded.
Yeah.
What? I was like, yes, I do. And we became friendly. having conversations about this stuff. And he was a Blue Man. I interned at Blue Man Group. I love Blue Man Group.
Cool.
Like all this,
That's cool.
We shared, obviously he was doing this thing, but I have a lot of respect and I'm a fan of this thing.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like sort of started to thread into that world through Jono and using it almost as a source to get back to something that was a little bit more fundamental, just a way to get back to my own creativity or my own inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was like, I'd like to try to do something like this. Like I would like to try to make something with this.
Yeah.
Some impressionistic, crude puppetry thing.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea for Wholesome, and Jono introduced me to you.
Yeah.
And it was just a first attempt, really, at doing something that I thought was amazing to watch. And then do you remember when we met? And you took me to a storage space in Harlem, and we stood there in the rain, and you just like grabbed different pieces of foam and fabric, and you're like, "Look, that could be a puppet. That could be anything's a puppet. Everything's a puppet." Like,
yeah,
great.
That's pretty much it. I mean, you caught me right as we, in the old days, I would have taken you on this grand tour of the old puppet kitchen space in the East Village, and there would have been great things hanging off the walls, and we'd have gone all over and just played with materials and stuff like that. And I had just the puppet kitchen had gone through this big shift where we moved out of that space. I was taking over the company and running it out of this room here up in Inwood, and all of the stuff was in storage. And so it was sort of like, well, let's go to the storage space, I guess, and let's do that walkthrough, see what inspiration happens. But yeah, I remember that very clearly. It was just pulling stuff into the hallway and just saying, well, here's some stuff that does some things, and here's seeing what sticks, which I think was a really fun part of coming up with something new,
And for me, it was a learning thing. Like Wholesome is cool. I like that thing, but I wouldn't say that I fully nailed it. But it's fine because that's what the shorts are for. It's it's like, let me meet you and learn how do you build it and how does it feel to shoot it and how to, in the end, what works and what didn't and how alive does it feel. These shorts, and I keep on making them. When I was little, I made them after school in my bedroom with a video camera. And then in college, I would make them with comedy troupes, just kind of for fun. And then the more that I would do professional, music video, these whatever kind of real jobs. Mm-hmm. It felt like it would pull. Maybe you're the same with when you do Little Shop of Horrors. So you want to go back into your lair and do some weird little personal thing, just to stay fertile, or to stay amateurish, So Wholesome was like that, but that's what was really, and then rap obviously emerged out of that. Then I was like, oh, I know how to do this stuff. I love this stuff. Yeah. I can do this better than last time. Yeah.
That's really cool. That actually that leads me into one of my questions that I'm so curious about too, because it does seem like you keep coming back to these short films after growing into these feature length films. And I'm curious how do they relate to each other in your mind? Do you feel like, obviously your history of filmmaking is in short films and short feature or short form. Does doing the big, does that change how you approach a big feature length film and vice versa? Do the features sort of influence how you approach?
I think that the difference, should I take the hat off or is the hat cool?
I mean, you're pretty cool.
Can you interact with your audience? I'd love to get some votes on the hat.
Oh yeah, we need votes on that.
If you think I should wear the hat, say.
Tell us in the comments right now.
Tell us in the comments. If the hat looks stupid, also say, because I'll just take that right off. I think the answer to that is that they influence each other, but when you're on a bigger project, it does seem that you get farther away from the center of controlling creativity. Like there's more people and there's more money and there's more cooks in the kitchen and there's more notes. That's not a bad thing always. Like sometimes you need all that money, and if you have the money, you have to be responsible for it. So there's people making sure that you are, and there's more voices because the project belongs to many, not just you. So, and that's fine. I mean, you couldn't do one of those bigger movies without that.
Yeah.
So that's good. But I think just for me being little, like being 13 to 17 in my bedroom with a camera where I operated everything and I edited everything and the ideas came from my brain, like through my fingers into the thing, that there was this direct connect, like it was just me doing it. Like if you had to be on a loudspeaker telling 5 puppeteers how to puppeteer something versus you doing it yourself,
right?
There's a different kind of a pleasure in doing it yourself and a different kind of a maybe vitality in the performance.
Sure.
That's what it is for me. Like you do these bigger jobs and they're very fun, but they're very hard and it's just not that direct. With the short films, particularly like how we did Rat, like Rat was the best way to do it for me. Yeah. And it's not like legal. it didn't cost it cost no money. We only bought food for people, really. And there was like 5 of us, like me, Jono, and 3 other people, like 4 other people. There's no one, and no, there was no. We didn't have shut down streets or get permitted. We just went out and made something purely for the sake of making it. And it was nimble and easy, and put the camera there and do that, and when we do it and move on, we'd have to bring trucks with us or get it was just us making it, and it was me on the camera, sometimes, and I edited it. I took all the footage home and I cut it. I didn't have to give notes and wait. I just did it, and it's that feeling of it's just coming directly out of you is necessary. It keeps me feeling fresh and like I'm learning and like it's me still, and that it's pure, and all of the things that you can learn making something like that, then you can bring into the bigger projects. It also, for me, makes me feel confident. Like if I could do something like that, and it's effective, that people like it, it comes out good, that it makes me feel confident about myself. And so then I can go into the bigger ones feeling like in some fundamental level, I got this.
Right.
As opposed to just needing to do the big ones because the validation of it making money and the people hiring me. Like that's so not deep, And you can learn. I could do weirder shit alone and learn and be challenging to my own creativity. And then you're like, okay, great. I got that out of my system. Now I kind of get it. I can go make something slightly less weird, or I can try to, get some weirdness into it. So I think that's what's important about it to me. And I think I got to keep always doing it. Always do it. It reminds me, or maybe it reveals to me who I am as a creative person every time I get to do it. In a way that the bigger jobs don't, because you're generally like hired to do them.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a question you want to put in here?
Report.
Is it about the hat?
Oh, that Jono's watching.
Jono's watching, and he's 100% team hat. So
I'd love to open that question
I'd
up.
say he is partial to having things on his head.
Yeah,
he
loves
So
that.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that checks out who he is as Rat. But the people have spoken. I think that's how that works.
There's a couple.
The person has spoken. Is it just
The
Jono
person
watching?
has spoken who's watching.
That Balmain, that shot there that you just had with Jono there sat on the thing.
Yeah.
There was some mysterious energy about us making this, like when and how we made it, like the 4 days before the election, because a week later, Balmain went out of business, and that the mannequins guy was a for rent sign. It was like right at the edge of the world tilting or something.
Wow.
And like that store's not even there.
That's crazy
anymore.
Oh, I love this. What do you make of the Rat going viral?
Jono. I mean, I don't. It's listen. The rat. Jono came up with this rat character.
Yeah.
What's so funny? Did you guys talk about this at all? Jono came up with the rat character, but thought that it was his second best idea, and he thought that the barbershop quartet was his best idea.
We didn't even talk about that last time. That's so funny.
So funny. You know the Apple Boys. Plug being the Apple Boys. Yeah, Jono
I love the Apple Boys.
Jono thought, the Apple Boys is great, but you know, maybe for you too, certainly for me, like sometimes you can just feel when there's tailwinds.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some idea and there's tailwinds, and there's some idea that you really love, but like people aren't hearing it or it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And there's other ideas that you say out loud and people like lean in, you know, like, and you don't know why. You're like, I guess I'll just follow the momentum. I guess I'll just follow that instead of trying to. And sometimes I still push these things like wholesome. No one was like, yeah, that really does it for me. That's good. I like, you're like, what? Even when we were shooting it, like those actors were like, I don't fully get it, but I'll just go for it. And then you're like, oh, I see. That one didn't go viral.
The puppeteers, by the way, we're fully on board.
No, everyone's on board.
Dorothy and Ariel were just like, oh, soaking it up.
But like with the rat thing, alternatively, we're out there shooting it for 20 minutes on the streets, and then like 100 people have their phones out. And you're like, oh, I see. There's just, of course, we should have thought, if I saw this thing on the street, I would pull out my phone.
Right, of course.
And I don't know. I wonder what you guys talked about. That COVID, and it's been, I mean, when the short came out, so many friends, two things. So many friends were like, this is so, like, it's melancholy, but like, this is so joyful. And there's a sense of normalcy to it, or it's just great to see some weirdo performance artist back. Like New York is still weird. Like New York is not abandoned and dead. And something about that moment, and I don't know, that felt like it was like a flashback and a flash forward. Like it reminded you of what you love about the city, and there's some proof or some, you know, that a feeling like maybe it isn't done forever. Yeah. That was good. And also, for me, the thing that was probably the most, beyond the puppeting stuff, like the thing that you're asking, like, why do you do the shorts? I'll tell you. But for me, the learning experience or the revelation or the thing that I feel proudest of about this one, and I didn't expect it when I made it, and was that this year was really hard, and particularly, you know, going to New York August until December was brutally hard, mentally challenging. I felt really it was really just hard. I thought I was going crazy, and I felt very sad, and like I could shatter any second. And I felt sentimental. I just didn't feel like myself. Like there was some transformation. And Jono felt a version of this also. This is what we talked about in the very beginning, even before the idea. And then I was wandering around the city this idea, I knew the rat, I wanted to do something with Jono, and the rat, this idea for the thing came into mind. It starts off in a trap, ends in a trap, there's a girl, you know, all of these moments, these melancholy city moments, all of it. And the song, I'm like, okay, and how it'll look and the mood of it. And then we made it, and then I edited it, and then when I started to show it to people, the way that they would feel having watched it was exactly how I felt before making it. That sort of fragile, melancholy, sentimental, but sort of there's joy, there's like some little, anyways, this very, I don't know, like cellophane thin skin, and amazing that like this was the first thing I've maybe made where it didn't have to go through some like intellectual translation of like, I want people to feel like this. So how am I going to figure out how to make them feel like this? Like what things can I do to elicit that response? This was just like, I feel like this, I'm going to spontaneously make something. I don't think it's going to go viral. Who knows I'm just going to make this thing. And then I made it, and then people watched it and they felt like me. Like there was just a one-to-one of like, it was as if like I was translucent, like that my heart, like that my inner life was translucent, and people would see it and they would feel how I felt, or that everyone just feels the same way. We all just feel like this right now in this movie. was able to have it break through the surface.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was new. I was like, I've never done that before. That is amazing if I could do that again. Like, if it could just come right from the heart and go to the heart instead of having to go through some process, you know, to elicit.
Yeah.
So that's why these little things are cool, because you're like, huh, didn't expect that. That's a good thing. Let me try that again, you know?
Yeah. There's so much that's like, what I think is so great and what you're talking about that the rat really captures is
your sound is bad.
Now how are we back?
Uh-oh.
Oh no. We've had some sound issues with StreamYard today. It's just one of those days. But you know, here we are. How's that?
Bad.
Spoken like a true film director. Oh goodness.
No, there you are. Better.
Okay, good. I was going to say, like, what that, you know, what that sort of says to me is that, like, especially because it's a mask, and because, like, I feel like there's a certain amount of a blank slate that people can kind of put themselves onto that mask, and they can kind of put themselves into that character and for that reason. And I think that, you know, ultimately can pull people into, like you said, like, either they're just feeling this right now, or it really like pulls in those feelings from the outside to sort of reflect what you're, you know, what's going on when you make it. Because it really is like this very sweet, like this very like melancholy and weird and joyful and like great combination of emotion in that short.
I can hear I can kind of hear you. I'm like leaning into kind of hear. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Oh no. Well, no, I think that you're right. I mean, and also Jono performs it almost like a puppy dog, but it is a disgusting super rat. And honest, it's really, the credit goes to Jono. Like, that mask is so simple, but it's so expressive, and those eyeballs are so basic, you know, but they're so, and his physicality of it is so, it's pretty fucking, it's emotional but silly and gross and
it is
playful.
Very New York. It's very like New York embraces its dirt. And
well, also the rats are out of control these days.
Yeah.
Super rats.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I was walking in the park the other day at the beginning of quarantine, and it was like a sign. I saw like a rat eating another rat, and I was like, if that's not a sign of the apocalypse, I'm like,
well, because all because the restaurants are closed, because there's no
they're like running out of food.
Nothing going on.
It was crazy. No. Yes, Trina. Yeah,
I wanted to point out we have some people telling us they can hear everything fine.
Oh,
so even if
how do they feel about the hat?
Hats are still 100% hats.
Okay, great.
Jess had a really nice thought.
Okay, great. So this is my friend Jess. What art is all about is trying to figure out if the feelings that you're having are the same feelings that I'm having, from Chris Ware. Well, that's a great quote.
Yeah,
I like that.
Love that.
I'm right in the middle of it at the moment. I'm right in the middle of making a short film too. I got this grant for quarantine mini commissions from the Handmade Puppet Dreams puppet collection from Heather Henson. It's really exciting.
Cool.
I'm like in the middle of the slog, so I feel like, you know, like everything is horrible. All my decisions are terrible. Like, it's really like I know I'll climb out of it, but this is just the
It's the process.
It's the process.
But you're so lucky to be able to be making something during this.
Yeah.
Because you have to assume that, like, whatever's going, like, no one's sleeping. Why? How come no one can get a good night's sleep anymore? Yeah. Why? We've been doing this for 8 months. I used to sleep so good, I can't sleep. Why can we all not really stay asleep? Like, there is some, like, fabric of tension or something, mysterious fear, even if you're not really conscious of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing to be able to make something during this time, because you have to assume it'll seep in. And then in 5 years or whatever, you all look back as like, it's almost like a diary entry. It's like, that's where I was during this, and it came through my, I don't know, subconscious creative life through my hands. I don't know how it happened. I think it's great that you get to make something during this.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly a relief to be stressed out about a little puppet show than it is to be stressed out about other things. But like, to be able to be worried about that little thing is, the word, like, the stress is real, but certainly it's in perspective for sure. Yeah. And I'm very excited to be, working on it. Do you find that that roller coaster of process is the same for you as well? Like, do you get to that point in your making short films where you're just like, this nothing is working, this is terrible, what am I doing, why did I do this, all of that sort of a thing?
No, I do that afterwards.
You do it afterwards?
Yeah, like when I'm in it, this is again from for sure from childhood. Like, I was like my number one fan because there were no other fans. Like, so I think to will up the enthusiasm or the energy to like do it, like, to gather all these people and make this like, you have to really believe in it. Like, you have to believe in yourself, like almost in a delusional way. Like, Rat is a good example. Like, we're doing this in 5 days. I'm buying a drone. We're returning it. We're going onto the streets. It's going to take 4 or 5 nights. Who knows? No money. I'll find some guy to shoot it that I've never worked with before, but it'll work out great. Don't you worry. Like, and we were shooting. I was like, this is great. This looks so good. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Like, but I believe it. And there's stress, like, for sure. Like, I'm stressed out that we're going to run out of time all the time, or I'm not going to get all of my shots that I've planned out so meticulously. And then, or I bottleneck when there's too many questions or too many problems that all at once. Like, I just bottleneck. I just can't hear it all. And, I get charged up and I kind of lock up. I have to sort of, unwind and just listen, like, there's that stuff, and it's very unpleasant and it's not helpful, but that's part of the rush of it, I guess. For me, what you're describing more happens like in the end when I'm like cutting it or like looking at it. And there's some disconnect between how I thought it was going to be and how it is.
Right.
And sometimes that's fine, or sometimes it doesn't happen. Like Rat, it didn't happen. Like, Rat was exactly like Rat.
That was it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got wholesome. I probably didn't totally got it. Is my feeling, Romantic, I didn't fully feel like I got it, and I would look back and be like, God damn, like, what? I thought it was going to be more this or cooler there, and how didn't I fully? But that part I got, but that part I didn't get it. Why didn't I? That's where it happens, and then I just can't figure it out, and I get a little annoyed or embarrassed or something. It's different all the time, but it's not even like your goal is to have it, to get it to be like exactly what I thought about it. That's how it should be. You control it too much, but yeah, I'm always surprised. That, like, I'm in my head, I'm like, this is gonna be so like artistic and weird, and then I watch, I'm like, this is like just super mainstream and nice. I don't get it. How did that happen? I thought this was gonna be like Amelie, but it's just like fucking an Adam Shankman Hairspray. Like, this sucks. What happened?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, more like that.
Yeah. Do you actively then take that into your next project? You say, okay, like, this didn't work on this one, so on this next time I'm going to try and do this, or is it kind of just on the back burner for the next time?
They're probably reactions. I mean, there's definitely is an autopsy at the end of like what did and didn't work, and really I guess that's part based on, well, I don't know. It's kind of part based on what people say and think and what the reaction seems to be, and it's also like about me, like rewatchability for me. Like, can I watch it again? Like, am I impressed with how this all came out, or am I like, I don't know, just not feeling it for some reason.
Yeah.
Next thing and do better there. Well, there's always a new set of challenges, you know? Like, and I think that there was also something about, for the last 10 years, there was such like, I felt like I had to impress myself so strongly on the stuff I was making because I so badly wanted to be seen, or people think I'm good, talented, and I mean, I like movies where the filmmaker shows off. Like, I like Boogie Nights, and I like when I like Wolf of Wall Street. You know, like, I like when it's flamboyant and I like that kind of filmmaking. I don't like being too hidden, but I think that there was a sort of an obsession with just like needing to prove something to myself, or, you know, maybe I feel like that a little bit less just through age and doing it a little bit now that there's more freedom, it feels like, where it's almost like, you know, oh, can I do that? Oh, that could be weird. I never did that before. Let me try that and see how that goes. There's a little bit more freedom and playfulness with where I want to apply my, you know, energy and creativity.
Yeah.
Less of like, it's got to be this because this is who I want to be and how I want to be seen. And I'm not a stoner guy. I'm this guy. So let me just show everyone that I'm not that. And now it's more just like, can I pull that? Can I pull a thriller off? Yeah. Let me see if I could do like, what would my version of a thriller look like? I don't know. That's new. That's brand new. That's like brand new this year. And
that's cool.
So I think that's kind of an exciting growth.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, asking selfishly, do you think that you will come back to puppets in the future? Like,
yeah, man.
Like you had a good time?
Puppets, yeah. Like,
now that you're in the community for real.
One of the pillar community. When you guys have those meetings, I don't know, make sure that I'm there.
Okay.
Because I got a lot to say.
Sure.
You say that like you don't think there are meetings, and there are.
No, I know there's meetings. Eric would have to leave me early to go to a meeting.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you remember you had to leave set to go to a meeting? I was like, what?
Yes. That's stupid.
Will I come back? Yeah, man. Like, I think, yes, they aren't always necessary, but yeah, I love it. And maybe it's also kind of, this is the cool thing about getting a little bit older, is that you're like, I guess that's who I am, or like, that's what my story is, like, looking back. That was me doing that, looking back at my timeline. But like, but all those things from being like little, like puppets, music, dancing and musical, like that sort of stuff, I sort of really loved doing. I mean, that was the last jet. I loved doing the embodied physical dance stuff and just having the camera dancing, and these horror bits also, you know, I like some of that. I like that. And those things seem to be where, and some sort of sense of emotional humaneness, or so. That's just me, my own personal life. So that seems to be a cocktail of things that are emerging even more clearly now. Yeah. But they all were planted when I was like 11 years old. So I guess that's in a pretty important time.
What would you say to other film directors who are getting into puppetry for the first time? We're thinking of putting puppets in their short films or in their films or whatever. Like, what really works, what really doesn't work from you? I think
doesn't it all work? I mean,
well, no, it clearly there's some stuff that, like, you have, like, I don't know, like, are there things that you learned on the set of Wholesome that you were like, oh, okay, now I see, like, working with puppets, you got to think about these things as a filmmaker, or as a director, like, working with puppeteers is different than working with dancers in this way, or similar, whatever.
No.
Nope.
Talking to puppeteers is like talking to dancers.
Yeah.
Actually, because it's so physical. Yeah. It's more athletic. talking to actors is a little bit more. It's different every time. It's a little bit dicier, and it's a different job. Like it's a different job.
Mm-hmm.
They're on camera. It's like it's harder. Not harder, but it's. I don't know. It's real high wire. It's different thing. It's a different kind of energy they're expelling. Dancers and puppeteers is so fun for me because it's like talking to a camera. It's like athletic. It's like they can tell where it didn't work, or they can tell if they just tweak it. There's a personal best feeling.
Yeah.
And a coming together of a lot of elements to make it come alive. And when it doesn't, and how to do it, and it's just a matter of like getting it to happen. And that's just so fun when everyone knows that it's not quite there, and all departments are like, yeah, but if we just do it, get into some flow. I love that part of it. Yeah. Dance is the same. With people that want to do puppets, I don't know. It's pretty cool. I don't know. I think you just need really good puppet collaborators. Like that's what you really need. You just need people that not only can build the stuff and make it look unique and bizarre and textured and not too basic or too familiar, but who can perform it in a way that is very alive. But yeah, I don't really think too hard about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And maybe you close the circle for them, like Jono with the rat. I saw he was doing kind of prank videos in Times Square, mm-hmm. and he was doing these sort of bizarro shows, off shows, and then he was doing that Zoom thing in his closet. I remember it in COVID. It's so funny how this worked out, but some 15-minute performance art piece of the rat being naked, getting dressed, and being naked again, like a life cycle.
He told us about that last week.
Yeah. I saw that stuff, and I guess he might not agree. For me, it was maybe just watching those things and trying to sift out what, at least for my own personal taste, what was the most compelling part of it. We could have made a rat short in New York that could have been way darker and existential and like a Kafka thing. That's kind of what his Zoom thing was like. Mm-hmm. But I guess when I saw it, it was like you said, that there was a sweetness to the face. There's certainly a sweetness to Jono as a person.
Yeah.
And it's a very easy character to graft feelings onto. So why don't we use the rat to do this thing of rat trapped in a cage, unlovable or lonely or starving for how things used to be. You could put those feelings on it pretty good. And so I guess in the rat short, the rat is used in a way that it maybe wasn't fully being used before, or maybe it synthesized in this thing, that sweetness and that melancholy feeling, as opposed to something a little bit darker. But yeah, you look at these characters, and you can maybe graft things onto them, or you can sort of see what they're presenting and then kind of run with that. And I guess that openness is really helpful.
Yeah.
But that comes with doing it a bunch of times. I don't think I was able to talk like this about that wholesome character, Yeah. So that's part of the learning of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Todd, it's been really great having you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time and for braving the jet lag while you get back to your LA life.
I feel awake now. I can keep talking.
Yeah,
What
hey,
talk
great.
about next?
Perfect.
Where's the audience questions?
Oh yeah, did we get any good audience? No, we didn't get any good audience questions.
We did. I've been filtering them in.
Katie's very discerning gatekeeper.
It's more been a very active listening audience.
Actively listening, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
I appreciate. But I'm really excited to see the Times Square thing that you did. Do you know when that's going to be viewable?
Yeah, it's going to be it's a commercial for TV. That'll be probably all over television in a week. I think we're just finishing it.
Great.
The next couple days. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. But that's a job. But that's a fun, dancey system.
Yeah.
It's fucking psychotic.
Your version of a thriller, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's next is my version of a thriller. We'll see. Quick on also no
really
glasses.
Oh yeah, we didn't even ask about the glass. Okay, well this
should we do it again like this though?
We should start from the beginning. Let's start over.
My mother used to tell a story when I'm 2 years old. I cry on Fridays because I want to see the posters and then read letters. I could do it like this.
No, this is way worse. I hate to break it to you.
Got it. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm your puppet. Trust me. Okay.
Well, I look forward to our next thing, and thank you again so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Peace out. Do I leave now?
We'll kick you out, and then we can chat afterwards if you want.
Okay, great.
Okay, take it away, Katie. By which I mean take him away, I guess. Well, there we are. That's our 30th Puppet Time Online. We did it, Katie.
Yay!
With Todd's help. Big thanks to Todd Strauss-Schulson for being on the show. You can catch him on Instagram. That's at Strauss-Schulson. And he's got great stuff on there all the time. You can also check out the short films that we made, or the short film Wholesome that we made, as well as Rat on ulteriorproductions.com. That's his company. And of course, be sure to follow Puppet Kitchen online. We're on Instagram at The Puppet Kitchen. You can find us on Twitter. Obviously, we're on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook right now. So follow us all over the place. Follow us everywhere. We've got some sweet, sweet PK merch. Order it now for all your holiday gift-giving needs or for yourself.
What are some of the merch things?
Well, we've got tote bags that are pretty sweet, especially if you have puppets to carry around. We've got water bottles that are pretty great, especially if you have water to carry around. Some pop sockets for your phone, like this bad boy right here. Don't you want to be like all the kids? This is very useful, I gotta say. And more. Check it out.
All right.
With that, I will say goodbye to all of you. It's been great having you. We'll be back at our regular time, probably after Christmas, Wednesday at 2:00. Check our Instagram for updates about when the next show will be. This is our 30th episode. So with that, I will remind you that you don't have to do everything to do something. We'll see you next time.